Welcome to Real Parenting for the Sensitive Moms, for moms who feel everything and still show up. I'm Adrienne Bishop, your co-host and parenting coach.
And I'm Leah and Adrienne, your co-host and perinatal mental health therapist. We're here to help you understand your sensitivity, give you real tools that actually work, and connect you with a community of moms who truly get it.
You've just had your tween yell at you because she can't find her favorite leggings and now she has to choose something else to wear to school.
Or your 5-year-old throws a tantrum when you offer him blueberries at lunch on the wrong plate. And somehow you're the one who feels destroyed afterwards, and they don't even seem to remember.
Sound familiar? Today, we're getting into the nervous system science behind why HSP parents absorb their kids' emotions so deeply and what you can actually do about it in the moment. So, Leah, I have had issues with this myself. So I'm curious, do you have a situation that you've dealt with recently where you've kind of been racked from the interaction more than they have, probably?
Yes. Well, at least it seems like my kids can recover a lot faster than I can, right? So it takes a lot more for my nervous system to really realize what's going on and then be able to calm down. It just happened last night where my child accidentally bumps her head and then she has a full meltdown. But as her emotions are heightened and she's yelling and she's screaming and she's crying, I realize I'm taking all that on myself, and it racks up my nervous system to where I want to scream and I want to yell. I want to do exactly what she's doing.
Are you affected in your body at all or physically, or does it kind of have like a hangover effect for you? Like, I'm curious, like what happens for you in regards to your emotional response?
In my body, I want to crawl out of my skin. I can feel it kind of like in my stomach or in my chest where I want to explode. Whatever she's doing outwardly, I'm trying to stuff in because I want to do the same thing.
Interesting.
I want to yell. I want to scream and just do the same thing, but I'm trying not to.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's the opposite, which is so interesting. Yeah. And I wonder if it has something to do with like our conditioning. But for me, a lot of it has to do with I have a kid that failed at something or didn't get what they wanted to get out of a grade, or there's a meltdown because homework is too difficult or too frustrating and they're upset. Like they're very upset and they're anxious and they're angry and they tend to take it out on me. And then my reaction is to clam up and like almost have one of those shame responses or like defensive responses where when you're in conflict, like as a people pleaser, you can't really, you go into freeze.
Yes.
So that's what happens to me. I go into like this freeze mode. So it's interesting that you go into the more fight mode, right? We're kind of seeing a different response. So I'm wondering maybe some of the moms or even dads out there that have some of these things happen to them where their kid goes into this emotional meltdown and they're responding either in flight, fight, or freeze, right? Which one do you think is usually your typical response? Or it might change throughout different kids or different actual situations. But for me, it's almost like I'm in shock. I'm like, oh my God. And my whole body gets overwhelmed. And then I have a rush of like heat going up from my stomach all the way up kind of to my head, almost like I'm getting embarrassed in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. Is that the same, would you say, your reaction to each child? Because like you said, I have a different reaction if it depends on which child it is.
It's definitely a different reaction for each kid. Yes. Like my middle child will shut down more than act out. So it feels like he's not fighting me. So he shuts down and then I'm more like, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? Like, please talk to me. And then I get into that kind of mode. So it really does depend on the kid. And then my third is very strong-willed, which we'll talk about in the future. And so he's always kind of in this battleground mode. Usually what happens with that is that I just get more angry at him. So like I go into fight with him. So it is really interesting. Like with my daughter, it's more of shut down. With my son, it's more of like overly caring and overly obsessive over how to help him feel better. And then my youngest, it's like fight. So they must trigger something different in each of us. Like each time it's some other childhood programming that's being triggered that we're responding to. So that's interesting. I didn't really think we were going to go there with this, but I think it really does help to think about that. Like, why is it being triggered in you in these different ways, or how are you being triggered differently for each kid? So so I think you and I were realizing that this is not just empathy. This isn't just, I feel so bad for them, or I feel like I understand them. It's more deep than that.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's it's deeper and it's stronger.
I feel like this way of taking on our kids' emotions is so automatic for me and unconscious. The term that we found that describes this is called emotional contagion. So you told me you were very interested in this term and felt like it really
Yeah.
described you and some of your clients. So can you tell us more about what that term is all about?
Yeah, yeah. When I looked it up, I was like, emotional contagion, which kind of makes sense. It means that we caught if something's contagious, we catch it like a cold. So we catch the emotions from our child. We actually take them on as our own and we feel it. So whatever we're noticing, when I notice my daughter screaming and crying and yelling at me, I want to do the same exact thing right back to her. I'm taking on what she's feeling. I'm physically feeling it inside my body and I physically want to react in the same way. So you're literally mirroring what is coming at you. And when I looked it up on Google, the definition is the unconscious process of automatically catching, like you said, it's automatic, and absorbing the emotions and attitudes of those around you. So if your child is in the middle of a meltdown, that's like one of their strongest emotions that they can have. So we automatically take it, right? I think there's probably an evolution part to this, especially as moms, we want to make everything peaceful and calm and take care of our kids. So if we take it on, we can help them through that. But like a lot of times I can't help her because I'm physically not able to relax in a way that's going to be helpful for her.
And there's this idea of being an empath, which sounds very similar to emotional contagion, right? So you're walking in a room and you're feeling everybody's emotions, but like you're not just noticing them, you're actually in your body feeling them. And that's kind of what happens to a lot of sensitive moms, that anything their kid is feeling, we feel it, we catch it, we feel it too. And so it makes a lot of sense that that's going to be really hard as a parent to manage. Not only is it not comfortable for us and it feels dysregulating, but then now we can't even respond the way we want to respond to our kid and actually help them calm down because we've been dysregulated by them. So that is one of the things that like I work on with my clients is how to not let your child dysregulate you or how to use tools so that you're not dysregulated around them, because that's only the way that you're going to be able to help them calm down and regulate their system. So I think a lot of times when we have a challenge with actually helping our kids calm down, it's because we're getting triggered and we're getting that contagion, that emotional contagion. And so it's really important to just recognize that it's happening and we can go from there. We can really take that as, okay, nothing's wrong with me. I'm just more empathetic, more empathic. I maybe have an automatic response to my kid this way. And it's very normal for highly sensitive people to do that, especially because our child is such a connected person to us. We can't separate ourselves a lot from that. And so that definitely means that we're going to have more trouble managing ourselves in those moments.
Yeah. And I think recognizing what's going on when we're heightened like that can be so difficult unless we're doing, so much work for ourselves to even notice it. I mean, how many times do we walk around noticing when we're mirroring somebody else or mirroring what's going on in the room? Most of us don't notice that. We just do it. Right? That's why we feel more connected to certain people, because we're able to respond to what you're noticing that other people may not be noticing, right? The facial expressions, we call it responding to the energy in the room.
Right.
Highly sensitive people are going to respond more and have bigger reactions to that because they are either taking it on or they can notice what's going on in a room before other people.
And if you think about it, when you are taking on your child's emotions unconsciously, or even if you notice them, and that's something that you're doing on a regular basis, you're going to want your kid to feel better in any way possible. So it's going to create a lot of more boundary setting challenges, more parenting issues, because you're going to maybe want them to feel better. So you're going to say yes more, or not really be firm like when you want to be, or give them things that maybe you should say no to. And I'm guilty of this myself because it's easier. It just feels so much better to do that stuff. So we just recognizing that that's normal and makes sense. You just want your kids to be happy because it affects you so deeply is okay. Like we just have to recognize that's normal and it's part of being highly sensitive with sensitive kids. And so one of the things that I heard recently was like, you're only as happy as your least happy child, right?
Yes.
So if that's the case, we're going to want our kids to be happy in any way possible. So we really do have to pay attention to that, because that can cause codependency. That can cause lots of issues. And not that we want to be worried about that all the time, but just be conscious of it, be aware. And I know anyone that's listening to this podcast is probably very self-aware, because they want to learn more about parenting. They want to improve themselves. So we just have to really be kind to ourselves and say, this is not something that we're doing. It is part of how our brain is wired as a sensitive person. And there is so much benefit to it, but it can be challenging at the same time. So we just need some tools to kind of work through it and to help us to feel like we have a little more control in these situations. And so this hangover keeps coming up for me, like the emotional hangover, because there's sometimes where like I'll have a night situation where bedtime, I have a meltdown, or I have somebody get angry or slam a door. And like the next day, I'm still worried about it and I'm still thinking about it. And the kid literally doesn't even recognize that it happened. And you're just like still trying to recover. But you're like, am I crazy? Was it really not that bad? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy to think that this was impactful, but it's very impactful to our nervous systems to have to go through that and to recover. And like you were saying, the recovering process is hard. It's not easy. But it seems like you have created some ways for you as the parent to feel better in those moments, or to be like responding the way you want to respond. And one of the things you said is you shut down, which is interesting. And that sounds like maybe you just don't react the way you want to. Is that what's going on for you?
Yes, it feels like a shutdown because I'm trying to not do what I see and what I want. Like I literally want to crawl out of my skin and I want to scream and I want to run away. It's more of the flight response, but I'm like, no, I need to be here, because when my daughter or child is ready, I can co-regulate with them if I'm calm.
So do you use some thoughts? Like what creates that calm for you? Okay.
Yeah. And I can use last night as an example, because I was very conscious of what I was talking about. I was giving myself the reasons why my child was responding this way, right? It's 9:30. She hasn't eaten. Spending time with friends is always overstimulating, and we always get a big response after that. And back into school after having an extended break for the holiday, that's always hard. So I was trying to give myself reasons, which in that state where I was able to just do what I needed to do, make space between us. Luckily, she wasn't hanging on me, because when that happens, I really feel like a caged animal. But she wasn't doing that, but I was able to let her have her space. She was fine. She wasn't doing anything. But I said, do you want me to come over there? Nah, I don't want help. Okay. Do you want this? Nope. I was like, okay, you know what? She's probably hungry. I'm just going to get her food. And then I came over. I saw her inching over. So that's my cue. All right, she's coming over to where I am. She's slowly coming, even if she's crying. So I look for the little cues of she's starting. I mean, she's 10. So she's starting to regulate herself a little bit, at least to accept help.
So you're able to see patterns in their behavior or patterns from the past that have led to the same behavior, and then connect them in that moment and say, okay, this looks similar to the last time this happened. She didn't eat, or this last time it happened, she was tired. So you're able to have a reframe essentially around why things are happening with her that aren't related to something's wrong with my daughter or something's wrong with me or my parenting. Right. So I think a lot of times when parents that I work with get really, really triggered by their kids, it's like a resistance to either the way they feel, the way the kid feels, or they have a judgment that is getting in their way of just being present in the moment and not making it a bigger deal than it is.
And not taking it personally.
Not taking it personally.
Not taking it personally, because that I did. I have a 14 and 10-year-old. I took things personally. And it just makes it worse. So when you're able to create that space, right? Like you said, finding the patterns and everything, it takes it off of you eventually with a lot of practice.
So this is something that it sounds like you've thought about before the tantrum happens. Like you're in the place of, okay, I'm seeing patterns with my daughter. She tends to have issues during these situations. Most of the time the meltdowns happen here or this reason. So then you're able to, in that moment, go back to those thoughts or go back to those those conclusions about the patterns. And then you're able to calm yourself more, which I think is really great. Like, I know when you work with your clients, you probably go through that. When I work with my clients, same thing. We're going through, okay, let's talk through patterns. Why do you think this is happening? What's the cause? Let's make sure that we're aware and that we have it in the tip of our brain so that when we get into these tantrum situations, we're able to pull them out really quickly and have those reframes immediately. So I think that's a really good thing to start with is what is my reframe, or how can I separate a little bit from the situation? How can I just take myself out of the emotional situation just for a second so I can get to my logical brain? So I think that's really good. And then the idea of we can have that idea of this is not about me, right? This is a really good thought to keep it away from your, being personal, taking it personally. This is not about me. You can say things like, their feelings are not my emergency. They're okay, right? Like they can handle what they're feeling. I can handle what they're feeling. Or I can handle what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
This is not a problem. This is normal. All those things come to mind for me when it comes to, like, immediately I have to pull some of those out when I'm in these situations where it's like, this is not an emergency. This is just an emotion. It will pass, things like that. So do you have any other thoughts that I haven't already mentioned, or did you already tell me all the ones that typically help you?
Yeah, I think it's always easier to come up with the reframes and the mantras that we tell ourselves when we're calm enough to do that. Because I've definitely had times where I just need to sit in a dark room with my hands over my ears and try not to have any stimulation.
Yeah.
Just to get calm enough to then help my child. And in those times, it's more, I really need to kind of like shut off my brain. Because when you're already activated, you're generally going to go into the negative. So it's just sitting there and maybe just really focusing on breathing or where you are in the moment. So then you can turn on your brain to go to, my child's fine. Like you said, it's not an emergency. My body's reacting to this like it's a threat, but it's really not a threat, right? My child yelling at me because they're dysregulated isn't going to make the world fall apart.
And I do think you're right. I think we do have to practice these things when you're more calm, or talk it through with somebody, so that when you're in the moment, those things come up so much quicker. Those ideas that you had in the calm moments can come up when you're in a really stressful moment. And then you just keep practicing that kind of thought more and more and more. Even when your kid's like just a little upset and you aren't completely triggered, try that thought. Keep trying it. Like, this is not an emergency. Everything is okay. This is not a problem. All those things. This is not about me. Just keep kind of working through those. See how it makes your body feel when you say those phrases. I mean, of course, the hypnosis that I do also works on some of those automatic triggers. So that's always a helpful thing to kind of work through if you're like really not able to move past it. Like, sometimes those thoughts don't work and you can't use thoughts, right? So like there could be another tool that you could use, like the breathing, or maybe using hypnosis, or even doing some other kinds of therapy could really help you move away from the programming and the programmed responses that you're having. So I think that's important.
And when you say that, what just came up for me is the tapping. Which we have an episode on tapping. You can do that for 5 minutes to get yourself calmer.
Yeah.
To then click on the brain and say, okay, this is going to be okay. I can get through this.
Right. And I think all of those tactics that we've talked about in the past, all of them could help. I think the thing that we really just want to recognize in this podcast episode is the idea that you are going to possibly feel this just bigger than other parents. And because you're sensitive, it's going to be more impactful. And that is normal, and nothing has gone wrong. You're not too weak. It's not your fault. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just how your brain is wired. It's how your nervous system is wired. You're just more connected to your kids that way. So just having some tools that work for you, or really just working with somebody that can get you to be able to be calmer in those moments. And not really beat yourself up afterwards, especially. That's the last thing we want, is to have this later in the day or the next day telling yourself that, oh my God, I lost my cool. Something's totally wrong with me. I'm a terrible parent. We don't want to go there. We want to go to lots of compassion, lots of unshaming that around, well, this is just, my nervous system is wired to really be in tune to other humans. That is not a bad thing. It just is a little challenging, and it's something I need to be aware of. Leah and I always want our listeners to feel like this is not something that's their fault, and that you're not like creating this situation. It's part of who you are and how you're wired. And we can work on it, but if there is a need for tools in these kinds of situations, that aren't too complicated, but just keep on finding what works for you.
Yes. Yeah. And with that, which I talk to a lot of my parents about, they will go into that shame spiral because maybe they didn't react the way that they wanted to. Believe me, been there, done that.
Yeah.
But it's also what's really important is that repair afterwards, right? The child has the meltdown. Maybe you join the meltdown because you don't have the capacity that day, right? Maybe you raised your voice a little bit more, or you did this or you did that. You didn't like how you responded. The child's going to remember that repair piece when you go and say, hey, buddy, you know what? We both had our moments. I'm really sorry for XYZ. I'm going to try to do ABC next time. Let's talk about a plan together and what we can do, right? That repairs what they're going to remember.
Yeah, I love that.
Right? So when I have my clients say, I think I messed up my kids. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Right? As long as you have that repair and you keep trying, that's what's the most important piece.
Definitely. I agree with that. And then I was also thinking about some of my clients, and including myself, how you kind of remember those moments and then there can be some fear around them happening again. And that can be very dysregulating. So I think that's something to think about too. Is that something that you're experiencing? You're, imagining and dreading the next time your kid has a meltdown, or dreading going to the grocery store because they always have a meltdown with them, or dreading talking to them about something specific because they're going to get upset. This is a very normal thing to deal with, I think, as a sensitive person. And I think it's definitely something that happens frequently when we have these huge emotional reactions from our kids and we struggle not to take them on. It's like we want to avoid it, of course. Nobody wants to go into the situation feeling like, oh, I'm going to feel like crap once I do this. So just remembering that's also very normal. And the more that you can practice some of these tools to help you feel calmer in those moments, the more you can feel in control and not dreading as much some of the interactions. If they have a tantrum, you can practice this idea of detachment a little bit, taking it not personally and using some of the mantras or getting some help with the triggers. And then you're much more likely to be able to not take on fully everything that's happening. And usually that helps, because I think dreading it actually makes it worse sometimes. Because when you're prepared, it's almost like your body is tensing up around the possibility of having it happen again. And then you're already dysregulated once you go into those situations. So just recognizing, again, it's all about the awareness. It's not about, something's gone wrong or we're shaming you, but it's just thinking about, does this happen for me? How can I manage it? When is it happening? And then of course, getting some support might be a good option too.
Yeah. Yeah. And Google emotional contagion, because I was very surprised that there was a word that described exactly how I feel. And I know some of my clients feel.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. It helps. It helps to have the explanation. Yeah. So like when your child melts down, it's not your job to not feel that meltdown. It's just our job is to just learn how to regulate in those situations a little bit better so that we can not completely drown in some of those emotions that they're feeling. So that is what we wanted to talk about today. And I hope that if you guys have any questions, please let us know. We're always available to talk. And we are actually going to be taking a little break from the podcast for the summer. And we're going to be back in the fall with a new season. So we're very excited about that. And we will see you then. Have a great summer.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a review and send us feedback. You can connect with Adrienne on Instagram at Adrienne Bishop Coaching and with Leah at Rising Sun Therapy. See you on the next episode.